I mentioned in another video that local color clusters thing inside of the color range dialog box won the worst name feature for CS4. Well, I think content aware scaling, it's under the edit menu, wins the second worst name feature. That said, I'm really just kind of joking around here because I'm not quite sure what you would call this, and when you find out what it does, the name actually kind of makes sense. It's just kind of a weird name, and I like to make fun of it. Anyway, so let's get started here. Now, the best way that I can describe this feature to you is to actually just show you this in action and show you what happens when we do it the wrong way and then when we do it this content-aware scaling way. So in this example here, we want to transform this image. If I go under the edit menu, all these things are grayed out. Every option, content aware, free transform. That's because we have a background layer here. So I'm just going to double click on it and then just click OK. That makes it a regular layer. Now the situation I'm going to set up is that somebody comes in and tells you that this image needs to work in, say, maybe like a 2-page spread. It needs to go all the way across in the background or something like that. And it just won't fit. You need more area over here. Well, you could come in here and try to clone and fake it. Or you could maybe even try to, get in, going under the edit menu, go to free transform here, and maybe try to spread it out. But as I spread, take a look at what happens here. See how the snowboarder starts to spread, the mountain spreads, everything spreads inside here. Things look kind of funky. Essentially, I'm stretching all the pixels here. If I hit enter or return, I can always come up here to the image menu and go to reveal all, and I can see my new image. And maybe it would fit onto the page, but you got to admit it kind of looks funky now, especially when we know what the original looks like. Okay? Well, that's kind of the bad way to do it. So the new way that we can do something like this is by using content-aware scaling. It's under the edit menu as well. And before I even go in, I'll go into it really quick. There's an option up here to protect something. And it says right now there's nothing to protect, all right? Well, I can make a selection and have it protect that area. And the reason why I'm bringing this up before I even show you is because I rarely ever use this feature without protecting something. Okay, in this example here, we might want to come up here and protect the snowboarder. So I will make a quick selection just with the lasso tool, right? Just right around him. Come up to here to my channels palette and just save this as a channel. Just click on that little icon at the very bottom, save selection as a channel, and that saves it as a channel here. And then I can deselect, go back to my layers palette, and now start to work. So let's go up here, edit, content aware scale. Up in the protect option, I've got to come up here and choose alpha 1. All right. And now watch what happens when I start to spread this out. Watch the snowboarder. That's the most important thing. He might be moving, but he's not getting stretched. All right. Start pulling it out from this side. He stays the same exact size. If I hit enter or return here and go under image, go to reveal all, you'll see we've done the same thing, but instead of stretching all the pixels here, what Photoshop has done is it's gone in the background and it's like inserted pixels, where when you free transform, you're stretching the pixels and you're just basically blurring everything. Content aware scaling is going to give you a lot better result on the output side because it's inserting pixels. It's keeping your resolution. Everything's going to be the same, and instead of stretching, you're inserting these little seams and parts into this photo to make this work. I can only imagine the math that's going on and the programming that's going on in the background here, but it's pretty cool. All right. So I'm going to undo a couple steps and just get back to normal here. Let's go back up into content aware scaling, and let's say somebody comes in and tells you, I want you to get this onto one page, but you can't crop it, because look what happens if we crop it. All right. If we crop it, we're going to lose a lot of the depth, especially if you want over all the powder and everything over here. If you crop it, you're losing all this depth over here that kind of shows that how far back the mountain range goes. So cropping isn't an option. Okay, so we can come up to content aware scale. We can do the same thing. We can bring this guy in. All right, see the mountains back here? They stay. Snowboarder, he stays. All right, and we can bring this in. Now we start to get some funky results. Oh, one thing I didn't do, let's come back up here. And you got it. You know what? It's kind of a pain. I'll tell you right up front. It doesn't remember that you've chosen this option. So if you come back in here again, you got to choose it again. But see how the snowboarder stays. The mountains back here stay, but we do get some funky results here. So the only thing I would do is maybe come back in with my lasso tool and maybe just kind of refine the area that I want to protect a little bit. Okay, make a brand new selection, come over here to channels, just drag this channel to the trash can and click on that new channel icon again. And now we've got the same thing. We can go back over to layers, content aware scaling, and now this time when I protect the alpha 1 channel, see what's happening here? So it's picking different areas to compress. It's just compressing things. It's not smushing it together. It's just removing. Remember before we were adding these little seams, if you would? It's removing seams from the image. So you're not squishing things together, and we don't get that squished look that we would get if we hadn't done this. We would be squishing the snowboard. Everything would be squished. Now, if you get too far, all right, obviously what's going to happen is it's going to start to say, all right, I've got to start to squish something here. But look at what it does. I mean, it waits until the last possible second, and it still tries to retain as much of that snowboarder as it can. It's just bringing in the snowboard here. But look at his body. I mean, his body is staying the same. So it's really amazing when you think about what's going on here. Now, I'll finish with this. Is I kind of gave you a view of this from a different perspective. If you're a designer or somebody in layout and you've been given this image and you've got to make it work with the layout size that your final product is going to be, this is where something like this might come in handy. As a photographer, would I do this to my photo? Probably not. It would just bug me. It's just something about it. I'm all for retouching and things like that, but this kind of gets to a point for me where I'm not quite sure I would do this to my photo and hang it up on my wall. That said, make sure you check out the next video. I've got a kind of a continuation to this, where as a photographer, this is something that I might consider using this feature for.